Alright everybody, welcome back. Nimager here, and today I wanted to quickly go over the summoning for the CVC coming up. I believe it is non-PR CVC, so not extremely exciting to go over anyways, but we have two pretty notable champions in Vulkanos and Legate Teox, who are or were considered one of the better unities, or some of the better unities in the game. Definitely very sought after champions. I think Vulkanos historically was potentially one of the top two, top three unities in the game. Teox, I think, slightly behind, but still, again, one of the ones that people would actually hunt for, and some other good champions on the list. So the first one up here is the Vulkanos, and this is coming on Tuesday, so I believe today of the day of the upload. And Vulkanos, if we switch in-game, is going to be one of the demon spawn unities who had a very extremely interesting passive when he first came out, and he kind of dominated a lot of PvP. Specifically for me, I've got a 6-star Awakened Vulkanos, and he's got an A1 that does a lot of damage. It scales up extremely high when you get to the later on passives of people taking HP burn ticks. He's also got a counterattack when people are under HP burn and they attack. He's got a pretty cool A2, which again does a lot of damage and will place a fear that can't be resisted by people under HP burn. And he attacks two enemies with the A3, or attacks one enemy 2 times with the A3. The damage inflicted increases for turns remaining on HP burn, which isn't too interesting in PvP. However, it does have the faction unity for demon spawns, which with one faction ally, the damage received by him is decreased by 50%. Well, this is not on cooldown, so he kind of gets a built-in Taros passive. 2 faction allies, each time an HP burn is activated on an enemy, he has a 50% chance to decrease the skill's cooldown to keep it off cooldown. And then 3, if anybody under HP burn is under with Stone Skin, Unkillable, Ally Protect, block damage, or shield buffs, the attack ignores that. So if they're under HP burn and you're going to kill them, it's going to ignore Stone Skin, Unkillable, Ally Protect, block damage, and shield buffs. It can be pretty interesting in a few PvP cases, mostly with Siege in a demon spawn faction, but you're not really going to be running 3 faction allies in any like live arena or other setting. And then the passive, this is kind of what makes him or did make him an amazing champion. You'll see me here. You'll hear me say, I should say, I can't talk today. The Surging Demon Fire, which is whenever an enemy receives a buff that has has a buff received or turn meter increase, that is going to have a chance to place an HP burn on that enemy for 2 turns, 50%. And if the enemy already has a HP burn, it's going to activate it. And if there's multiple, only one of them activates. And it's also got a demon spawn unity, which is HP burns placed by the skill can't be resisted or blocked with one ally, which is awesome. So any block debuffs or high resist, if you could throw in 1 demon on your team, totally ignores it. They're going to be burning all the time. If you got 2 faction allies, the HP burn instantly activating is going to increase his ignored defense up to 100%. So if you have a long fight or in like a PvE area like Hydra, he's going to be ignoring 100% defense. And the third one, he places a block revive on any enemy killed while under an HP burn, even if this champion is dead. So if you got 3 demon allies with him, anybody under HP burn, if they die, even if he didn't kill them, they get blocked revived, which is, again, a very extremely useful part of the passive. And he's got an aura, which is defense in all battles, and then speed for only demon spawn. And this guy was probably my most used champion for the first few live arena seasons. I had him in a build that let me kind of abuse his passive while not needing any unity or ally champions. I had him in about a really slow build, 7k defense, okay crit damage with about 600 accuracy, and this build was trying to run him solo with Stone Skin and Pinpoint. Pinpoint to ignore any polymorph effects, and then the Stone Skin just to make sure he didn't die. And I would just throw him in any team, against any speed team, and I would let them burn themselves down. It was awesome. If they had a Siffy or somebody who's going to be placing a block debuffs, I would throw in a 1 demon, and a lot of the time, this guy is going to be an instant ban, so you can pretty much create a free team of 4 in Live Arena, or if they don't ban him, they're going to be banning your other demon, which again makes it so you get the Vulkanos. And if they ban neither, then you have a Vulkanos and 1 demon pair, like a Carnage or a Duchess or a Commodus, and you have that demon pair, and they're just going to burn the entire team down. And it was awesome. Again, like I said, my most used champion. I thought he was an amazing champion. I went very hard on the Prism that came up for him a while ago, and I just made sure that I got this champion. The issue is that the Mercurial meta has hit us for PvP, and I'm going to show you a quick example here. I've got a full demon team, so the Vulkanos should be placing a ton of HP burns, even if the Siffy's going first and placing the block debuffs. In the past, this team would have just been totally destroyed by the demons, so I want to call out a quick example of how Vulkanos works, or how HP burn in general works with Mercurial. I don't like it. I don't think it makes sense in my head, but you'll see what happens when the fight starts. You'll see this Arbiter has 3 Mercurial stacks. You'll see that the team takes a ton of damage from the HP burn. And the Siffy, she created all her buffs, and she got the entire team burned multiple times, and they burned through the block debuffs. However, you'll also see that the Arbiter still has 3 Mercurial stacks. So even though the burn damage was taken, and usually what I would do is I would just take any skill, switch and bomb, or remove the buffs and go in, and I would instantly kill this team. Or if the Arbiter got a turn, she would use her increased speed, and the entire team would burn again, and then they would all die. However, Mercurial, you can see, doesn't get removed. Now, what's interesting to me, based on how I read it, and maybe it's somewhere in the text that I'm about to read, and maybe we'll all learn together if I'm reading it properly or not, but the total guard stack, which I believe I'm going to actually find in the skills info section, if we can scroll through this amazing UI to find total guard. Let's see if it is in here. And we will go through. I bet it's not going to be in here, which is going to make me really annoyed. And I swear I should have already seen it by now, and maybe I'm not seeing it. Total guard, here we go. Total guard will block any single instance of damage and all status effects a champion receives. Champion can have each stack, and each total guard stack will block a single instance of damage from the enemy champion's skill. It will also block any associated effects, blah, 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 blah. Instant activation of HP burn, polymorph, as long as the champion has at least 1 stack, they'll be immune to all the negative effects, except for increase of cooldown. A champion will lose a stack anytime they would take damage from a champion's skill. This, I guess, is where you're getting away with it. They're calling it a champion's skill. To me, the Vulkanos passive is an HP burn that should be damaging the champion. We saw the Arbiter take damage. It's kind of backwards to me how it works with no total guard being removed, especially if you look at like a champion like Mina, who recently came out, who has a passive that's inflicting damage from the passive, and that does remove total guard stacks. I'm not sure why the Vulkanos passive is different, but I believe that does make Vulkanos a little bit less of a kind of high-tier PvP champion to go for. I still think he's very good. I still think I would pull him if I was near Pity. I don't think he's the champion to go for anymore. If that team had multiple total guard stacks on it, we saw the Arbiter was the only one under total guard. If the entire team had it, like you'll face in a lot of live arena battles, or even 2 or 3 of the champions having 9 total guards, 9 Mercurial pieces, giving them 3 stacks each, Vulkanos would place almost no burns. They would barely take any damage, and he just sits there kind of useless. So I don't think this champion is the S-tier PvP unit that I treated him as in the past. I actually found myself starting this live arena season using him less and less and less, to the point where towards the end I wasn't using him at all. I think he has lost a ton of value with this meta. I don't think that the I've seen a few Vulcanoses face me. They were in the 9-piece Mercurial, which makes it a little interesting because they can run and not have to worry about polymorph at all. However, if you're also in Mercurial, he's just got a useless champion in Mercurial that can do a little bit of damage. But unless his passive is ticking off and you have a ton of faction unity allies, he's really not doing a ton of damage on his own. He's not getting the True Fear if he doesn't have the accuracy, if they're not under the HP burn. So at best, he's kind of removing one stack of Total Guard using his A2 from everybody if there's no burns placed. I just think it's really not that interesting anymore. I don't think he's a champion to chase. If you're close to a Mercy pull, go for it, but I don't think he's the champion that you're really going to be wanting to chase as a unity. As a note, he can solo Faction Wars hard, stage 21, the boss, because the boss places a lot of buffs. But I really don't think he's going to be worth going for in terms of prison pools and a lot of other things, unless Mercurial changes. So that's kind of my big long spiel to say. You'll hear a lot of people talking about Vulkanos historically. He was awesome, dominated a lot of PvP, could be used solo, could be used with demon allies. I still think he's going to be used a decent amount in Siege in a demon team, but I think after the Mercurial meta, you have to look at him and say, maybe he's not worth going for, maybe he's not worth pulling for unless you're near that Mercy. Duchess and Preva, again, I think are pretty good champions. I have neither of them, and I'm cursed to never pull a Demon Reviver, so my experience with them is please give them to me. I'll probably pull if I'm at Mercy. I gotta check for a Duchess. I do have a 6-star Preva just kind of sitting there, so I think that's pretty interesting. And then the Gracchos Turndrake, he was a guaranteed, I think, in like a deck event a little while ago. He's pretty cool champion for PvE. He gives a passive that increases damage, but I've never used him, never built him, didn't find him to be that interesting. I don't see many teams with him. And then Wither, again, I don't think a bad champion, healing your team up, creating a lot of survival, but again, just not doing too much. So I'm going in terms of priority. I think if you're near Mercy, you want to get the Vulkanos as definitely a pick to pull. And if you're not interested in the Vulkanos or you're not going for the Mercy, I would go for either of these two from the pool. I think Duchess, again, old school champion, but still decent. If you don't have a Demon Reviver, she would have made Faction Wars hard really easy for me in comparison to what I did deal with. And I think Preva's interesting as well. I don't think you would care about the Gracchos or the Wither. In terms of the Voids, I think Krutraxa, after her buff, she is the obvious pick. I've seen her all over Live Arena. She's pretty awesome. She's doing some crazy things with the revives. She's getting in there and just destroying enemies. I've seen her run with no stone skin, no mercurial, just taking the death, reviving, and killing champions all over the place. I think she's the easy pick. I don't think Anithui is amazing. And Chalco, I think, is a good champion, but I do think the buffed Krutraxa I see more often, and I lose to more often than the Chalco. I don't see much Chalco, but I think I would pick Krutraxa from here. And I'm not going to cover the epics at all, and I'm not too interested in covering those. If you look at Wednesday's summoning, I think you've got a interesting champion in the Teox. The Teox, again, was one of those champions that was released and considered one of the greatest unities. I believe he was in one of the first Prism events for a Unity champion, and this was actually before the headline existed, so people were going pretty hard to get him, if I remember correctly. I've got a 5-star Teox. I think he's pretty cool. He's got the attacks enemies with an ally joining in with the highest crit damage, so he's getting a lot of hits in, dealing a lot of damage. He's got a triple hit that's ignoring defense and an extra turn if it kills anybody. He's got the big A3 block revive if he's got faction allies. Doing some cool stuff, and the most interesting part when he came out was the passive of gaining turn meter whenever an enemy or an ally receives a debuff. A lot of times he'd be paired with a Calvalax. They would place a bunch of poisons on the enemy. He would get infinite turn meter, do his A3, block revive everybody, and that would be the fight. However, again, you've got the Mercurial issue. You're not placing many debuffs with the Mercurial stacks on. He's not getting as much of an interesting buff with his passive. Plus, in Siege, a lot of the Lizard fights have gone down to just who has better RNG with Mr. Predator here. So, I don't know that he's an amazing champion to have. Again, he's a pretty cool unity. He can be used in a lot of PvE content and some boss content, and he makes for some pretty cool teams. But I don't think I would pull him like the value he once had. He didn't have an amazing value where I was picking him in live arena. He can't really go solo like the Vulkanos could, and I just don't think he's very interesting PvP-wise to take, even for the Lizard faction. Like I said, I've seen so many fights that just come down to Predator RNG at this point that I don't know what the place is for him. He's nice to have, he's nice to use. If you can beat a Predator with it, then he's obviously useful, but on the flip side, the Predator could just dodge everything, kill your whole team, and then you wish you used your own Predator and won the RNG fight. So, again, I don't think either of these unities have gained any value. I think they've lost. I think Vulkanos has lost the most value of any unity. I think Teox, again, loses a little bit of value with those debuffs, but he wasn't being seen too much anyway. Again, if you're near Pity, I think he's probably still worth it pulling for him. Kosk and Karen, I'm honestly not very familiar with Kosk, so I'm not going to cover him at the moment. I'm going to look him up and be right back. Alright, so we've found Kosk. Amazingly, he's a lizard. I see what they were doing with the ally. It seems like he's a Demon Lord champion from what I can tell. He's got a increasing duration of debuffs on the A1, instantly activating poisons if the duration does not increase. He's got the attacks one enemy 2 times, placing a increased accuracy on him. First hit has a poison sensitivity and 2 poison debuffs, and the second hit is a debuff spread and then all poisons and sensitivity, placing them on the other enemies. And then the A3 is a decreased attack, increases turn meter for each placed, and then instantly activating all poisons. He's immune to poison, stun, and decreased speed. He reads like a pretty awesome PvE champion for like 2023 when you could poison a dungeon, do some pretty cool things. Like when Theodore was soloing dungeons. I think poison just isn't really good in the very late game, and I don't see this champion being used in any PvP. You can see he's got Demon Lord and Dragon, which are the 2 main places. Chimera, again, could be interesting. He's got a decent amount of buffs and debuffs, but there's, again, better champions that work for Chimera. Again, being immune to poison is good for Dragon, increases his damage dealt. So if he does a lot of damage, I haven't seen, he might be like a Balar-type champion for Chimera, but I don't think he's very interesting on first read compared to some other champions, and I don't think he's certainly going to be interesting in a PvP sense in any way, shape, or form. Karen is quite interesting when he came out if there was, again, no Stone Skin or Mercurial. He's got awesome wave control abilities. He's got a interesting passive about sleeping enemies, stealing turn meter. He's pretty cool, except for the fact that your enemy can just have Stone Skin or Mercurial, and then he becomes a Faction Wars bot. Nekmothar, I think it is an awesome pull if you are at Mercy. He might contend with Teox for me. Nekmo, again, is a PvE kind of engine. He keeps the team going, gives you a ton of turn meter, debuffs. He's used a lot in Chimera. He can be used in Hydra as well. So I think he's a good choice that you can go for. Pythion, I think, is kind of outvalued by a lot of champions in this game. I don't think he does very much. The one option for here, for Pythion, that I might pull on, so I put a little question mark, he buffs the Predator. He can awaken the Predator, so if you have your Predator at +0 or you have some Pythions to throw into him and you're looking for more, maybe pull for a Pythion just to only boost your Predator. Honestly, Predator is so insanely good, it might be worth it. I would probably do that if I was at Mercy for Ancients or Sacreds. Of these champions, I already have the Teox, I already have the Nekmo, and getting actual pluses on my Predator, to me, is probably the most value that I could get from any of these champions this weekend. Again, Predator is insane, so I'm going to honestly change my color again for the 70th time. I might just pull for the Pythion and say, you know what, I'm going to plus my Predator, and that'll be the way to go. I know this is an amazing art creation to read. Please don't question it. Going into the voids, I think there's some good void champions here. You got Fighty, who's got the cooldown reduction for your team. You've got Sulfurion, who's going to be a really good PvP champion, like 4 months ago before Mercurial came out. And then Krisk, who is just a really old school void. I think he's probably the worst of these. Again, I'm on the wrong color. I don't think I would pull for Krisk. He does a decent amount of stuff, but I don't think he's a 2026 champion. Fighty, I think, can make it into a lot of cool Hydra teams. I think he's very interesting. I do have one copy of him that is unbuilt, but I think he can kind of, like, along with a Yumeko, or in place of a Yumeko, take that role of helping a team go. Sulfurion, I'm on the fence about. He was my most wanted void for a really long time. If you made him fast and you just let him go in PvP, he would burn off all the stone skin. He would let the rest of your team gain turn meter. He would, if you had enough stacks on his soul, he would decrease turn meter with the burning soul blessing, and you would just, there would be no counterplay to it pretty much, except for if you had some feral champions. Now, the same issue that Vulkanos is facing. The HP burn's just not as good. If your whole team is against Mercurial and he goes, he's not going to do anything. With his opening skill. Again, he's losing a ton of value, not burning off that stone skin like he could in the past. So would I pull for him if I was at Mercy? Maybe, but I think I would pull for Fighty or Krutraxa first, and then I would maybe rank the Sulfurion as like a third pull. Again, if you have the other two, maybe pull for Sulfurion, but I think he, again, like Vulkanos, has lost a lot of value. So, to sum everything up that I talked about today, I think Vulkanos has lost a ton of value. If you're at Mercy, pull for him. If not, I don't think I would go for him. The two Demon Revivers are decent champions to have, but I don't think they're amazing. Krutraxa, I think to be proven, but from what I've seen, very good in live arena and PvP situations. I think she's probably one of the better voids you can possibly pull. And Teox, again, if you're near Mercy, same story as Vulkanos. Pull if you don't have them. They're cool champions to have. They're really good in PvE. I just don't think you're going to find many PvP applications for them. So if you've already got them, I wouldn't worry about pulling multiple copies. And I think they've lost a decent amount of value. Necmo, PvE champion. That's a really great engine. Pythion, if you're pulling to boost your Predator, I think he probably is the best non-void champion you could pull solely for that reason. Solely because Predator is insanely broken. And then Fighty, I think, is pretty good champion to pull. I would maybe pull Krutraxa first if you're PvP oriented. If you're PvE oriented, obviously go for Fighty. And then as a wild card, Sulfurion, I think he's lost a lot of value. But again, I wanted him so much, maybe I'm just looking at it with some rose-tinted glasses that I want him. But really, I do think he lost a lot of value with the Vulkanos. So, in general, would I summon tomorrow? Probably not. Non-PR CVC, not much going on. Some okay champions. I think if you're at Mercy for Voids, pull for Krutraxa. And then if you're at Mercy for Sacreds or Ancients, I'd probably save them. None of this is too interesting to me. And that about sums it up. If you're pulling or you have a different plan for the summoning, let me know. If you have any amazing comments on what this artwork is and what it means, let me know as well, because I can't make heads or tails about it. The only way to learn about it would be if you followed the video as it happened. If you scrolled till the end, you probably have no idea what this means. If you liked the video, leave a like or subscribe. Thank you for watching till the end. I've been Namager, and have a great day.